Hello everyone. I am using a different software this time around, so let me know in the chat if you can hear me all right. And yeah, I mean, I can see a lot of messages, so I hope I'm online. How are you all? I okay, so okay, yeah. Nathaniel says loud and clear. I think there is a bit of lag, and that's probably why it's kind of. I was unclear if I'm live or I'm just talking to the camera. All right, how are you all doing? I am really excited for this month's live. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a little bit different, and more importantly, we are all going to learn some amazing Power Query stuff. So, welcome everyone to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And before we actually jump into the real stuff, if you're new here, or if this is your first time to the stream, or if you have been coming back again, an official warm welcome to Chandu.org show. Grab whatever drink you have got with you and take a nice little sip. And today we are going to talk about Power Query. And what I want to do is I want you to kind of drive the show. So I have put a Zoom link in the chat description below, video description below. Go there and connect with me on Zoom. That way you get to ask me some questions. I haven't started the Zoom meeting yet, but I'm just gonna start. You may have to wait in the waiting room, but feel free to join the call. That way we can talk. You can share your Power Query related stuff, and then we can discuss that. Hopefully I get to help you a little bit. If I do know the answer, then I'll definitely help you. I'm not really sure if I will get all the questions right or whatever, but I thought that this would be a fun way to kind of engage with you. And in case we have got a lot of radio silence, I do have some problems prepared. I have got some questions emailed to me up ahead, so I prepared some example file as well that have about five Power Query related questions. So we'll go to that in case there is a little bit of lull in the thing. But first, let me kind of see what's going on. I put a poll here asking, did you use Power Query this week? And I think I did something. All right, I'm gonna view the chat again. And a lot of people have commented on that. Like I mentioned, this is I'm using a different software for streaming this month. Normally, I use StreamYard, but this time I've chosen to go with OBS. So I am completely rusty. So excuse me while I fiddle with the software, trying to get back the window that I accidentally closed. But about 60% of you have used Power BI, Power Query this week. So I think we have about 120 people respond to that, and 60 people is pretty good. And there is a lot of nice messages coming into the chat, uh, and I'm trying to figure out a way to pop some of those messages on the screen. Just give me a second, but I'm gonna end that poll and and then come back here. All right. Okay, so that worked. I wanted to show one of the messages on the screen. Uh, Tusita says, "Hi, greetings from Sri Lanka." Hello, Tusita, how are you? I hope greetings to you as well. We have got people from all over the world, and I've got like a little widget thingy going on here through which I could pop some of those messages on the screen. So I just wanted to test that. Um, Someone says volume is low. Can you check again? Because it does seem like I have not made any adjustments. So hopefully, maybe it's a little low on your end. Mm. All right, we already started getting a lot of questions, but I thought we'll do a little bit of show, like welcome greetings, before we jump into other stuff. So Jitendra says, "Hi from Delhi," and then he also says, "Big fan." Um, and Dhanvita says, Chendu Garu Bagunara, which means, how are you? I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Meer kuda bagunarandi. Um, and and Abdul says, please cheer up for India as we reached moon. In fact, that is an awesome achievement. And that was the first thing that I saw as soon as I woke up the next day morning, because I think when the lander arrived on moon, it was around like late in the night for us, about 2 a.m. or something. So sound asleep. But as soon as I woke up, I went downstairs. I looked in my phone. There was lots of WhatsApp status messages from my friends and family back in India, and I turned on the live stream and straight away watched the whole thing. It was such an awesome moment, and yeah, of course, that brings me to another thing, which is what happened in August. August has been like an amazing month, all in all, for my channel, live, as well as in general for the data community. So we did get up to 500,000 subscriber mark. Thanks to all of you who subscribed to my channel. Some of you are now watching it live, or probably will watch it in future when it is going to be available for replay. So thank you so much. Yay! That's like a crazy little milestone, and I celebrated on the day when we got there, and then in the weekend we had a little party with some of my friends here, and Joe surprised me with a little cake and all of that. So it was just like an amazing thing, all in all. And then just the other day, recently, right, a couple of days ago, Python got released for Excel. So we have now, you can develop Python code right inside Excel and use all the amazing data analytics, visualization, machine learning capabilities of Python right inside Excel with your Excel data sets. So that's another new thing. I hope you got a little bit of glimpse of that news on LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube. Some of our fellow Excel YouTubers like Laila Garani and few others have put Bill Jelen have put some videos on that, and I plan to add a video on Python later this week or next week, whenever time permits. So that's an exciting news. Have you any of you tried Python in real life? I have got some videos on Python on my channel, not with Excel though, but it's like an amazing thing to have that now come into Excel. So I'm just excited to test out the possibilities and see which directions this is going to take us. Uh, yeah. P. George says, "Thank you for your videos. Greetings from Guatemala." Thank you so much. And Travel with Satya says, "Good evening from Bangalore." Good evening to you. All right. We should probably, there's a lot of messages coming, and I might miss some of these messages. Obviously, I'm going to miss like hundreds of these messages. So um, it's, but I'll try and see how many we can help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the Zoom meeting. Um, So the link for the Zoom call
Recording in progress.
is in the video description below. We have got about 5 people in the waiting room, and I want to preface this by saying two things. Number one, you can share your questions. Feel free to. It is highly recommended that you enable your camera. That way, everyone can see you, and you can explain to me what your problem is. Um, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, mm, you can ask questions. Chances are I may not know the answer, right? I only know a little bit of Power Query, Excel, and other things. So the intention here is we talk through the problem, and hopefully I get to help you. There is no promises here. So I really want to help you, but I may not know all the answers. So that's the second thing. But third thing, this is also exciting. This is something that um, I want to kind of put it out first, which is for every person I pick, and we talk, and the problem whatever you are sharing, I want to give you one of my courses. So I've got two courses, two mini courses that I would like to offer. Um, it's like a free giveaway thing, but I didn't want to dangle this up front and kind of make the stream all about it. So that the courses are, I have got a mini Power Query Essentials course and a mini Excel Dashboards course. So both of these, they're worth about 25 or $40 each. So I'll give one of those courses for you for free. So even if I don't help you, or even if I help you, you walk away with something from this call. So feel free to join the call. The preconditions are you must have a valid Power Query problem. The stream is topic is Power Query, so I don't want to discuss other problems not related to Power Query because that is unfair. And if we do get up to the problem, then you have a chance to pick between one of these two courses as a giveaway. I'm going to quickly show you the course options, just so you know what we are really talking about. Um, all right, so this is my website, and okay, so these two are the courses. So this is the first one, and then Modern Excel Dashboards mini course. So both of these are like about an hour long courses, and downloadable. So you can download the course files and everything, and watch it at your own pace. So if I pick you, then you will walk away with something, even if I don't help your problem. But hopefully, I get to help you as well. That's really the intention there. We now have 37 people in the room, so I'm really excited. What I'll do is I'll pick one of you randomly, and then we'll keep going like that. Hopefully, we'll do 5 or 6 people. I don't know how many we will get up to, but that's the plan. All right, you are excited. I am excited. I'm also nervous because so many things. Number one, I'm using a new software, so I don't really know if all of this will fly properly. The audio and everything. You can hear my audio well. Now we have to see if we can pick up the audio of these other people. Um, all right, so I'm gonna move this participants thing. Okay, I did admit somebody, but are you there, Muhammad? Hello. Hello. Okay. I don't think this person is there. So, all right. This is going to be a lot trickier than I imagined, mainly because, oh, hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Yeah, and I had a simple question. I just
Mhm,
want know if I can calculate
mhm. Distinct
distinct
counts.
counts with Power Query.
Okay. Have you got something to show me, or do you want to just do you want me to explain the process? Sorry, did you say something?
It seems to be. If you could just explain it,
Mm,
I don't have it. I have my client information, but
mm.
don't want to share that. I don't have a
Okay.
sample.
Okay, get it.
Uh,
All right. So I'll
so
talk
a
through.
client receives multiple services,
Hmm.
and I want to count just how many clients, not how many services.
Okay, got it. All right, let's do that. I got some data here. I'm gonna bring that. So, uh, what is your name? All right. Hopefully, you can see my screen there. Um,
Tino.
okay, Tino. Hey. Um, yeah. So, for those of you who kind of got the question, what Tino was asking is how to do distinct counts, but in Power Query. Normally, that sort of a thing is something that we do in either pivot table level, or once the data is in Excel or Power BI or whatever is the source system, that's where we do that. But let's just say you want to do this inside Power Query. How would you do this? So I'm going to use some of the data set that I have here. I'm thinking, this data set is a little too big, the usual awesome chocolates data set. We are going to load this. We'll try. If it doesn't work, then we will make something up. So we'll go to data, get data, get data from table range, and grab this data into, oops, not that one. And get the table into Power Query. Even though I'm using Excel to demonstrate, the process is same. You can do the same with Power BI as well. It works the same way. So you can see that we have got salesperson, country, product, like that. There's a lot of repetitions in these columns. For example, if I go to salesperson, you can see Jehu here has already appeared twice in the first 5 rows. So is Van. You can see their name repeating, and Gunnar and all of these regulars, their name would have appeared many many times. So the question would be, uh, how many distinct names are there, for example, for each product. Now with this data, the chances are for each product the distinct count would be same, because there is lots of combinations. So everybody would have sold all the products, but when you apply the technique in a real world scenario, you would have a slightly different thing. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to pick these two columns, right click, and right. Okay, we're gonna pick these two columns, right click, and then say remove other columns. So we are not looking at everything, we are just looking at name and product. Okay, this way we are not distracted with anything else, just this. So now the question is, for each product, how many distinct values are there? And I'm only kind of guessing here, because I know that there are features within Power Query But personally, I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to try. So what we will do is, for first, we'll go to all the people that are available in each product. So that kind of an operation is called grouping. So you have got transform group by. So if we group by at a product level, and what we want is a distinct count. Now we can see, oh, there is distinct count here, so we don't need to do anything. But if that's not there, then we would need to do something. So within product, we want to do a distinct count, like that. Let's just see what this will do. um, yeah, so 21, 24. So I think that's pretty much it. If you do like a group by operation, you would get for each product how many distinct names are there. Does it help you, Tino?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you could use that if you want to somehow take this number and lay it next to like this. Like for example, in the main data, you have got everything, and then somehow you want to see 21, 23, like that. Then you would need to get a little
Yes.
bit more creative. But what you could do is, you now have a a table that tells you for each product what is the distinct count. So we can call this as um, product underscore counts. So this is query number one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. And this is, we can call this as all data. And in this, we just undo the grouping step. So we go back to the way things were. So we're looking at everything here. And then this second query gives me just the distinct counts. So we have got two tables. And now what we want is, against each product, that number should be there. So we are gonna take the all data table and then go to home, merge queries. And here we're gonna pick the product column here, go to product counts table and map that like that. So we're saying um, product here is mapped to product there, like that, so that the relationship is maintained. And then when you click OK, you'll get a mapping table here. You just expand this out and just bring the count aspect here. So we have the counts for each person, sorry, each product. So now that the count is there, you can load this table back into Power BI or wherever it is and then use it. All right. So that was that. Um, let's try someone else. But I'm gonna quickly pop into the chat because what I didn't realize, man, this is gonna sound so silly, but um, what I didn't realize is, because I have my camera here on the on the live stream, I'm not able to use the camera on the Zoom. So I think I picked the wrong thing there. But it's okay. It doesn't have you don't have to see me. But that was a really interesting question from Tino, and I forgot to talk to him about the giveaway thing. Oh man, this is silly. But hey, Tino, if you're watching, email me. You know where to find me, and send me an email. Um, and and let me know if you want a copy of one of my courses, the Power Query one or the Excel dashboards one, whichever one you want, and I'll email that to you. All right, lots of good messages in the chat. I'm gonna pick something, and we're gonna read few messages. Mm, Jahur says, if we create multiple queries, is it possible to refresh all in one slot? You should be able to refresh them all. What Power Query does is it kind of builds a internal hierarchy of queries. So if you have got multiple queries and some joins and some reference queries that depend on others, then it will refresh them in the order that it should do, so that all the predecessor queries are executed first. You can refresh all. I think it'll be there in the data ribbon if I'm not wrong. So give it a try. Um, Hamish says a wonderful point, which is I've used the same technique, but need to be wary to make sure you don't count, then sum the count and get massively overcounted values, obviously. And this is the reason why I think it is important to do this kind of distinct counts at an analytics layer rather than query layer. So in query layer, we keep the data as it is, but use a DAX measure like a distinct count to do the distinct counts, because then it will do row level distinct counts. But when you group by, or like when you aggregate it to an overall product, or when you slice it by a date or something, it's going to give you the correct distinct counts at those levels too. But sometimes you may want that information at the backend layer for some other reason. All right, should we go and do another question? Now, before I do, I have a small request for you. It's a little bit selfish request, but you know, better that than not asking. If you're enjoying it so far, make sure that you hit the like button on this video. This is something that that'll really help me out when I create the video. So feel free to hit the like button if you're enjoying and having fun. All right, let's go ahead and pick. So there's some question, and then somebody is building on top of that question. uh, I think it's about Natalia building on Jehov's question. Is there an optimal way to layer queries to decrease load time? There would be an optimal layout, especially if you have got like a big Power Query setup, whether in Power BI or Excel. And the good thing with Power BI is if you are using Power Query there, they have got something called Query Dependency View. Personally, I have not used it, but I know it exists. I have seen people use it. I know what it does. So the view, what it will do is exactly what it says on the can, which is it's going to show you a dependency tree of your queries and the path from one query to another. If you have got multiple queries and you have got joins and dependencies, then this is relevant. So then Power Query is gonna by default pick the optimal path to execute that dependency tree, because that's really built into it, baked into it. But if you are noticing some performance degradation, then you will need to work from backwards. So you need to know what output you are planning to generate, what tables you're going for, and then see what would be the shortest way to make all of them, so that you're not repeating steps or you're not doing costly operations like doing a row by row transformation over 9 million records and then joining and then doing another round of transformation. So then there might be an optimal way of doing that at a later stage. So yeah, you could kind of try that. I have not personally used dependency view, but I have done many operations where I was able to squeeze the performance of Power Query so that it works faster. So if this is something that is bothering you or your team and you think someone could help you, again, my plan is not to sell my services here, but we just happen to walk in there. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to provide some consulting to your team and help you optimize those things, whether it's you or someone else. So anyhow, that's that. Um, Oops, I meant to show this as well. One more question from the chat, and then we'll go to the meeting room again. We have got 25, 26 people waiting there. I have a single workbook with multiple sheets, around 30 plus, with the different sheet names, having same columns with the different column names. Would like to merge all the sheets data. That's an awesome question. And the good thing is, I don't need to answer this to you. because I have already got a YouTube video that tells you exactly how to do this. So I'm just gonna quickly pop that onto my onto the other screen there, so you know which video I'm talking about. So I'll put the copy of this into the chat as well. But essentially, recently I was trying. All right, so this is the video. It's called Awesome Excel Trick to Combine Data from Different Headers. Different headers being the header names are different, or even the columns content is sometimes not in the same order, whatever it is. This shows you the trick, the basic process. Once you know the process, you can apply this with another video here. It's called Awesome Excel Trick to Combine Data from Multiple Sheets. So you can see that on the right hand side as well, this video there. So both of them should kind of give you exactly what you want. All these videos are on my channel. Just search for a Power Query playlist. It will be there in that, or if you go to my videos, you'll find it. So check it out. Exactly solves the problem that you're explaining. All right, let's go to the the Zoom call, and I'm gonna admit somebody else, and then we're gonna see their issue. So hopefully this time I can show the entire Zoom call rather than admit. Same problem as earlier. Okay, I have admitted a person called Dr. Jenny, but they're connecting their audio. So meanwhile that happens, let me see what is going on in the chat. Suresh says, "Thanks, bro, for your hard work. I got a job at Amazon as a business analyst." That is awesome news. Congratulations and more power to you. Jacob also messages, "Good evening, sir. From Hyderabad, kindly share the link to register for upcoming paid session for Power BI." Sure, I will. I am still kind of setting up the page and everything. Oh, by the way, in case anybody is interested, I'm doing a data analyst boot camp in the second or third week of October. It's a week-long program where we're going to cover advanced Excel, SQL, and Power BI in 5 sessions. So that's the plan. It's quite ambitious, but I figured 1 week of concerted effort would be better than more. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Do you want to explain what your problem is?
Yeah.
Before you do that, do you want to maybe mute me, because I can hear myself
Yes.
in the background, like on the YouTube. Maybe you're watching the YouTube video as well, so probably just mute that. Quite ambitious, but I figured 1 week of concept. Okay, yeah, let's go.
There we go.
So how can I help you?
Okay. I am trying to use Power Query to access a bunch, not access a bunch of, get a list of all the files, folders, and subfolders in a particular team site. So basically, a SharePoint. And I think I know how to do it, but I keep getting this error, a 404 error when I go to it. I can click on the link, I get the data, but when I try to do Power Query, I get the 404 error.
Okay. So obviously you might already know what 404 means. It means
Yes.
it's not there or you can't get there. Whatever may be the case. So this is a little bit trickier to simulate. And even if we simulate this, it may not give this exact results every time, simply because how the authentication with Teams work and what you get to see depending on how you logged in, which environment you're using in, all of that. But let's just say that as a base level, you have the right access controls to get to the Teams page. That means you get to see it when you go into your browser on your computer. If you type the address, you're seeing the folder structure, the SharePoint page,
Yes.
the Teams page. Then the next problem becomes, why don't I see that from Power Query? So we're gonna try it, but again, my feeling is we will see something. It looks like it works, but probably when you're trying to do it may not work, which means maybe there is something else that is creating the problem. But I'll talk a little bit like how to hopefully debug. Again, a lot of it kind of gets a little bit too black boxy because uh, it's not like you're using 5 steps to get there. There will be just one or two Power Query functions that does the job. So if that function fails, then it fails. We don't know why it is failing. So it could also be that your office administrator may have disabled getting to SharePoint or Teams pages in certain ways. So that means a human being typing the address in the browser is okay, but a program trying to automatically get there is not okay. So they might have configured something weird like that. I don't know if they can, but it's possible that they have. If anybody else experienced this, feel free to put a message in the chat so we could help Dr. Jenny. But we are going to try. This is an interesting problem. So I'm going to see if I can. Um, so I do have a SharePoint thingy. Ah.
Great.
So obviously, click here to sign in with a different account to this site. So I'm going to try that. All right, we'll be here for a long time. Okay, that loads. All right, that's great. So
That didn't work.
And then okay, so whichever way I go, I'm just ending up in OneDrive. But I think this is fine. So we are gonna. Why am I seeing OneDrive? I want to see SharePoint landing page. Okay, so here is a SharePoint folder that I've set up. It's like a made up thing. It doesn't really have anything other than some folder, another folder, and finally some file in there. So we are gonna grab the link to this guy here. In fact, I'm gonna go all the way to the root folder. Yeah. So get this, and then let's go to Excel. And while we are already in Power Query, let's just make a new query. So you don't have to go back to Excel. You can right click on the queries pan and new query here. So we are gonna get to the SharePoint folder and paste the site URL. I don't know how much of this will work. Let's just try that. And then not anonymous. Okay, this is just annoying. This because on this computer I have got like multiple accounts doing different things. Okay, this is connected already. Cool. Let's connect to that. Okay, I get this nice little error saying unable to connect, blah, 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 details, mashup engine resource, HTTP request, object not found. Okay, so I am getting 404 error as well, which is amazing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the SharePoint page and then let's see if anyone in the chat has some suggestions. Okay. I'm going to copy the sharing link from here. Copy link. And then let's just see if that link would take us. Okay, so this wants give me the address to the root of the SharePoint. So maybe that. Oh, something happened. Okay, finally it found the Excel file. And what I want is I just want to transform the data. I don't want to do any combines or anything. There is only one file in that thing, so it kind of went there. And it gave me that file. So if you are getting the 404 error directly, is that what is happening to you, like how it happened to me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so probably the reason could be that your copied URL, maybe you're getting it from here. You may want to try a different URL, like pick a folder in
Yeah,
your
I've tried a
computer.
couple
Yeah.
of different URLs with,
Mm.
with just the site name and with the shared folder. And anyway,
Yeah.
I've added, deleted things.
Yeah. So another thing that you could try, and this is something that is very weird, but I only found when I was doing some client work, and I never saw this error until I started working at a client's place. And I tried this and this worked. I'm not really sure if this is going to work, but you can click on these three dots, go to details,
Right.
and if you go to more details, you'll have like an absolute path to the thing. This will always give you like a HTML, HTTP link. So you'll have a path, and right next to it, like a copy icon. So what that would show is not that I'm gonna.
Oh, I lost you.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So here, that's the link. Another way of getting there, more an absolute link to that. So you may want to try that link, and if nothing works, feel if you're especially paying good money to Microsoft, like on a subscription, not you but your company, you might be able to just flag this issue to them, and they might be able to give you some guidance as well. It could be
Right.
specific way in which the SharePoint is set up. There are like
Yeah,
thousand
that's what
little.
my concern was.
Yeah. All right. So feel free to email me later if you want to grab one of those courses.
Yes, I will.
Good to have you on the call.
That's the only reason I asked the question.
All right. Thank you. Thanks. All right. So that was the question on SharePoint. Again, I think kind of helped. I don't know. I mean, probably we still haven't solved the problem all the way, but hopefully you found some useful information there. Uh, I'm gonna look at the chat messages again. Okay, this from Kalyan. Sir, I'm getting an error when using group by. Like I take one column and done a count operation there, and with the same column, I did an average 2 in that case. Okay, you didn't tell me what the error is. Uh, let's look at Ravi. Is there a way to get data from multiple text files into one Excel workbook, but into multiple sheets, with each sheet having a file name from which all the data extracted? Same steps to run all the files. I feel like this is a question that you may have asked in the when I announced the live stream. A lot of people commented, so I saw this kind of a question again there too. The problem with Power Query is the load destination of Power Query is always a single table. I mean, whether you load the table or you leave it in a connection or you load it to data model, at least the way it is set up within Excel and by default in Power BI, the load is going to only happen to a single table. So you can merge 100 different text files, but the output of that is going to be a massive one table, not 100 different tables. You could, however, use other things to split the data. Splitting is not the core strength of Power Query. It's not even one of the features of Power Query. Whereas you could use, to be simple, you could use like either VBA in Excel or Power Automate to probably split things. But if you have gone that far and you're thinking, I need to split the data, normally you need to question the motivation there as well. Like, why do you want to split the data? Because combined data in one cohesive format is better for you, better from a maintenance perspective, better from a reporting, analytics, whatever purpose. But when you want to split this into 100 tabs, then it is actually driven by a need from a different perspective. Like you want to produce a report in a certain format where there needs to be 20 tabs or whatever. So if that's the case, then the right tool needs to be a different one, not Power Query. Power Query is good for combining the data. Whereas if you want to split and show 10 different outputs, then maybe you can use something like report pages in pivot tables that can do this for you. One click, you put a report page, field into the report page, click on that, it'll generate all the 20 pages for you automatically. It'll give you 20 pivot tables, but your audience couldn't care because all they want is 20 outputs. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is you could write a simple VBA script. If you search on my channel, split files, you will find example VBA code with some explanation on that. On my website, I have got some articles on that. And if you Google that, you will find many articles. You can ask ChatGPT, it will help you out. That's with VBA. You can use Power Automate to do probably some of it. I have not done it, but I feel like it's one of those things that Power Automate could do. So yeah, good luck with that. But splitting is not something that Power Query can do. All right. So this is something that George asks. On Power BI on a date slicer, can you set the first and second dates to today by default every time we open the report? This is a very good question. It's not directly related to Power Query. but it can be related to Power Query depending on how you view this question. So today is a concept that is always changing, right? Today is 25th of August for some of you, but for me in New Zealand, it's already 26th of August. And by the time you watch this in replay next week, it will be some other day for you. So today is a relative concept. Uh, and that's why if I set a slicer to today by manually entering the date or through some other means, because it changes tomorrow, it's not going to work. So the trick here is, rather than setting it to a date, if you set it to an attribute that is always updating, then it will work. So the reason why I said this is related to Power Query is my latest video on the channel is called How I Make the Perfect Calendar Tables in Power BI. So if you check that video, I show a little bit of this through current month concept. So instead of today, we are talking about this month. So within the calendar table, if you can flag a row as today, every time you refresh, because the date changes, the today will be flagged to a different item. So now you have got a column in your calendar table that says, is today yes or no? So let's say you do that. It will have, for a typical 365-day calendar, 364 days will be no, one day will be yes. So you have got that. Then the next step is you take that field into Power BI, put it on the slicer, so it will only have yes no fields, and you tap yes there. So now the slicer is saying pick is today yes, and then show that information on the report. When you refresh, the data updates, the yes moves to a different row, but the slicer is still set to yes, so it's going to show you the correct one. So this is the technique. You can try this out. I hope I have explained it clear enough. I'm not showing the example on the screen, but that's how you can do it. So give it a try, and yeah, in case you have difficulty, you can watch my calendar video on the channel. It is the latest video that I put before we are doing this live. So okay, we are gonna go back to the Zoom again. We have got a few people waiting, so I thought it'll be fun to take those questions. But if you do have questions and I'm not taking the questions from that live chat, feel free to get onto the Zoom call so we can, I can bring you. And I really apologize, so I'm not bringing you. um, all right, while this person is connecting, Kalma Separated says, is there a way to do dense rank in Power Query? Um, possible, yes, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know what dense rank exactly means. I know what the term is. It's just I feel like I may have used a different way to describe what that is. Can you explain a little bit more? And if someone else has done this, feel free to help this person out. Um, what is dense rank like? Can you give an example? I could do that on Google, but because I'm also talking, I don't want to do that. Hey, can you hear me? We have got a person, Sunita, on the call.
Hi, Chandu. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, hi. How can I help you?
Yeah. So I have a Power Query where it's connected with list of Excels, which is having just 3 columns.
Mm-hmm.
So it is having a location code, date, and sales.
Mm-hmm.
It's for complete 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted a Power Query DAX where I'll have a column inserted, which gives me growth of the previous date of the same. Yeah, I need the growth for the same date previous year.
Okay. Yeah. So what you're explaining is you already have the Power Query that is giving you all the data, isn't it? And now you just
Yes,
want
yes,
to compare how much it has grown year on year for each of the
yes.
location code, or yeah, location code, isn't it?
Yeah.
What you could do is, you don't want to do this kind of thing in Power Query, because Power Query, while it can do that calculation, it is just not the right place. It will not give you the correct numbers, or when you want to aggregate it, 5 locations into one group or something like that. It's not going to work like that. So you want to leave Power Query as it is. You have got location, date, and sales for all location codes for all the 2 years. Bring all the data into Power BI side, and once you have that in Power BI, then you could use something else to do that operation in the DAX. So I'll quickly show you. We may not succeed 100%, but let's just try.
I'm using this Power Query for BI only.
Hmm.
It would be great if you should
Yeah,
show
yeah.
me
So
on
I'm
BI
opening
as well.
in Power BI. Um, so I'm going to bring a awesome chocolates data here. And okay, I hope you can see what's going on here. And do you want to maybe? I'm just gonna all right. So we have got a shipments table. Oh, no. So we have got a shipments table, and we got date and some amount. So we will make a simple measure like total amount or something. And then we can just put a table. In this table, we'll bring some date. Let's go up to that, and then what the amounts are. We don't have multiple year data here, but it's just every month. So essentially, we are going to take this problem, and then we are going to turn it into what we have here, which is month on month, how much did it grow. So for example, in February we dropped by about 200, 160, yeah, 200,000. So I wanted to see that as a percentage of Jan or something, like at least get the number here, then I can do comparisons myself. So we can call that as previous month total. So we can make a new measure. We don't have a calendar table here. Normally in your model, you might already have a calendar table. If not, make a calendar table first, which will make most of these calculations a lot better and efficient. If you don't make one, Power BI uses internal date table to build this. So we are going to say pre-month total amount is equal to calculate total amount. And I feel like this is going to not work exactly, because okay, you may want to mute yourself, because I think I can hear a lot of echo. And I feel that will be the case for others as well. So yeah, like I was mentioning, this may not work exactly because of the hierarchy that we have got going, but we can figure that out later. So if you say pre, you will get previous month, you'll get previous year, like that. What you are looking for is same period last year. That's really what you want to use, but we don't have last year data, so I'm just going to use previous month. And I'm just going to say use the shipment date to do this kind of a thing. And then we're going to try that. It'll create a measure. I'm going to pop that into the table there. So it works out to be blank because, like I said, we are using a hierarchy here rather than the actual dates, whereas for the measure we are using the date column. So it's kind of like a complicated thing. But once you have correct date here, then it'll work. So we are going to turn this into just the date, and you can see every day here it'll tell you what the previous month value is. So you can see February 1st, the sale is 37, but the previous month value is 896, and that kind of rolls over automatically into March and April. Now, the problem here is if I do comparisons at this level, it's going to be incorrect because at this day 37, what we now need is a way to aggregate these dates into total of data. So, this is where I suggested that you get a calendar table because then you'll have month values and all of that. But short of those, another dumb way to get this is maybe add a month number column or something like that and then use that. So that is one way. Another option is somebody else is also saying rather than using these kind of things, you will build the condition yourself using some sort of a different logic like dates in period or dates between. There are lots of different DAX functions, but that is the key. You want to use that. This is a lot more technical concept than what I'm making out to be. So a good thing that you may want to do is understand clearly what is happening, what is the evaluation context, and why certain things work, why certain things don't work. So my suggestion is if you have never done anything, not calculate, nothing, then probably start learning them, understand them a bit more before you get on with more complicated ones. Because what would happen is you might end up producing wrong numbers and leading to different outcomes in business. So you don't want to do that. So feel free to spend some time, learn those things. My channel has videos, but you don't have to just go with the channel alone. You can have search online, get a good book, or maybe join a course or ask a colleague to help you out. Whatever works for you, try it out. But yeah, this is the approach. Hopefully that helped. And again, get in touch with me if you want to grab one of those courses. It's free, but thank you for coming on the call. And I thought, that's another way I could help you out.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye. All right. So that was fun. A little bit detour into Power BI, but hopefully some of you do this kind of a thing, and you found that example a bit relevant and useful too. Let's see what is going on in the chat. Okay, I think somebody had a similar message, so I'm just gonna pop this. Top row, multiple employee name with 3-4 column merged. Want to transpose the data ? Um, you can do that. Like we are going to do a little bit of like example of what happens when you have got merged cells. How does Power Query read this data, and how to deal with some of that. Obviously, if your data is like really messed up, lots of very weird merging going on for whatever obvious reasons, and you do want to transform all of that in Power Query, then you need to carefully choose your operations. But we are going to go with a simple enough example so we are not overwhelming ourselves. So the example would be, let's just open Excel here. I'm going to close and load all of these. I don't want to see anything, so I'll just make instructions for all of them. And I've got some examples here. I don't know if we will even get to them, but we'll make something here. So let's just say I've got 5 employees. So we'll say Gunnar, Suresh, Ravi, Adam, Cynthia, like that. But instead of being them in a cell, somebody went to 5 cells and merged them. So we have got that data like that. And what we want is we want to be able to take that and then break it into 5 cells or whatever. Now, obviously, if you read this cell in Power BI, then Power Query, then it's gonna show up. This is not in a table format, so you can't even directly load from here. You have to connect to this from Power Query in another file or something. But what we will do is we'll just name this cell. So we'll call this as merged. So this is my merged cell. And now if I go to data, select this and go click on table range. I don't want to make a table. I want okay, what's going on? Name manager. Let's just okay. We're gonna just confuse this with like a definition like that. And all right, yeah, we're gonna get into the Zoom meeting as soon as this one is done. Sorry for those people who are waiting. So when you see it actually read that and it has read 5 columns because I set the merged name range to refer to 2 rows and 5 cells. So this is how it looks inside Power Query. You can see what is going on. At this point, your transformations will be just based on how you want to deal with. Because our data is only in column 1, I'm going to select this and then say remove other columns and then, get rid of all the nulls. Well, actually, that's not what that's happening. Anyhow, and then, right click, where is the split column by delimiter or whatever you have got going. And then let's say we don't want to split that into multiple rows. We want to have multiple columns. We want to have multiple rows. So what you could do is you can say comma as your delimiter and then go to advanced options and split them into rows. And when you click OK, you'll get all the names here, and then you can trim them. You can get rid of extra spaces and whatnot, and then load it back into Power BI, Power BI or Excel, wherever you want to load this. So that is how you can do that. Hopefully that is giving you some ideas. Okay, so what I'll do is I want to be able to go back to the Zoom meeting. We have got many people waiting there, so we'll pick one more. So Amol is the one that we chatted with just now, so we already have help with that person. All right, I added another person while they are joining. We're gonna go and look at the chat to see what is going on. Akshay says, how do I add data from a Salesforce report to Excel? You may want to try the connectors. The Power Query has lots of connectors. I believe Salesforce would have connector there. So yeah, try it out. It will be there. I've not personally used Salesforce with Power Query before, so I don't really know how to do that. But yeah, try it. Okay, here we have Ravi. Hi, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, Mr. Chandu.
Hi, Ravi. How can I help you?
I have actually two queries. One is Power Query does not read non-English numbers. It does not recognize non-English numbers. When
Okay.
it change the type to whole number, that it gives an error. It only reads an English number. Whereas once I load it, right now what I'm doing is once I load it into Excel and then I'm converting it to the into number format.
Okay.
That is, I don't know why that is.
How do I add data from a Salesforce report to Excel? You may want to try. Do you want to use maybe headphones or something, because I can hear myself, or at least mute the YouTube video while we're talking.
Yes, I have muted the
Okay,
video.
cool. Yeah. So, what is your second question?
Yeah. Second question is that when I'm trying to load data from PDF file, actually, what happens in PDF file, I have only 5 columns. Whereas once I load it into it, due to I think some formatting thing, say first page will load into the 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. And the second page, it is loading. I mean, Power Query, once it loads, it gives me some 6 or 7 columns. Second page loads from the second column. That is the first column's data is going inside the Power Query. It is going into the second column, and then it goes like that. How to remove that, adjust that, I'm unable to find. Sometimes it happens, additional column comes in between because of some comma or something. It happens one page, it has first 2 columns loaded into 2 and 3 columns in Power Query, and the remaining 3 in a blank column was there, and then the remaining data again loaded into 4, 5, and 6 columns. That way the number of columns basically is increasing, and that's why I want to how to get it into, say, again same 5 columns only. That's my question.
Okay. All right. What I'll do is yeah. If you mute yourself, I think that'll be easier for from a call perspective, because I think it's getting a little bit crazy. Okay, those are great questions. Unfortunately, I only have experience with one of them, the PDF issue. I don't really know how. I've not personally used non-English numbers with Power Query so far, but I'm gonna ask you: have you tried, like, if you have got a number here in this column, and then you're trying to treat this as a non-English number? When you are converting it to a whole number, you can use the using locale option. If it is a valid number in any locale, as per Windows or whatever, you can say whole number and then specify the locale that you are using. Like, it's an Arabic number. I don't really know. I might sound really dumb, but personally I've not used non-English numbers. Um, so I don't know if there is a capability built in to treat them as numbers or somehow, but this locale option is there to specify the geocoding that locale that you're using to treat the numbers. So have you tried this?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Yeah. Okay. Try it. It might solve the problem. If it doesn't solve, then at that point you're going to start look on internet and forums and help and whatnot. Because I don't know if the capability is already built into Power Query, but the locale thing is there. It is super helpful, not just for dates, numbers, but also currencies and dates and everything, where the data might look different depending on which location you're looking it from. Okay, so that's that. The next question is the PDF thing. This is where, again, a lot depends on what is it that you're doing inside Power Query that is like splitting the data into columns, and then what is happening in the PDF itself. Many times what PDFs do is they're obviously created so that they can be printer friendly or shareable or whatever. So they're not the format of your data, they are just printouts of your data. So there might be some invisible spaces or some things that only a printer can see but not a human eye. So it might look like it's 2 columns, but it actually has 6 columns going on. So these weirdities exist in PDF. And then when you write a rule inside Power Query, and you're saying if you see a comma, split it into an extra column, or if you see this character, split it. What Power Query would do is it just blindly follows that direction. So, but because our eyes cannot see that, we think that is not there, but it is still there. So if you are noticing that there is some sort of a consistency, at least each page is moving by one extra column or something, you notice that this pattern with certain PDFs, then what you could do is you can deal with that by adding an extra rule that takes away that column. So again, it's kind of hard to replicate, but we are gonna try something. I don't have any PDF like that. I mean, I know what this problem is. It's just I don't have anything handy. So what we are gonna do is we are gonna do something similar here. We are gonna make 3 columns. So column 1, 2, 3. But for the sake of fun, we are making it 5 columns. So data is only in 3 columns, but the headings can be 5 columns. So we'll have A, B, C, and then D, E, F, G, H, K. So you can see what is happening. 3 column data, but somehow it is getting offset with some extra space like that. So, and I want to bring all of this, but somehow load it back as 3 columns. So that's similar to the problem that you're facing with PDF. So you can see what's happening here. It's coming as null. It may not even be null for you. It might be some other weird thing with PDF, like it might be an invisible space or whatever. So once you have the data here, the thing that we want to do is somehow shrink all of this into one thing and then do it. There are different ways to handle this kind of a problem. If you have only few columns and very few rows, one easy alternative is you can select all of these, right click, and then say merge columns, and then pick a separator that doesn't exist in your data. So for example, something like an @ symbol, it is not in my data, so it will have this kind of a thing where everything is merged together, and then split it again by that. Obviously we tried that, but somehow it's not really working because we ended up again with the same problem. So I'm gonna see if there is an option to ignore blanks. Oh no, if I say 3, what happens? Oh, we are losing the data. Okay, let's go back. Let's not merge. So the second option would be anywhere it is null, we wanted to ignore that and then still combine. I feel like merge and split is an easier option, but when you're merging, you need to get a little bit creative. Okay, let's try something else. We are gonna transpose this. So when you transpose a table, you're turning it like that. So you're having ABC null null DF like this. No, wait, maybe I know what to do. I am actually lost here, but we're gonna try a custom column and then see. So essentially another option that I was thinking, I don't really remember or recollect the M syntax, but I'm pretty sure I can solve this later on when I'm doing it on my own, is to turn each row into a list. So, okay, I think what we could do is we can just add a step and then here in the source, so source table, and then 2 to list source. Okay, so kind of did what a merge would do, but it gave me a list with those delimiters, and then there is some extra spaces at the beginning. I'm seeing if there is a, we can write a combiner function here. So you can, if you are slightly familiar, I don't use these things all the time, so this is where I get a little bit confused when I try to both do as well as explain and do it on live. But you can write a custom function that would basically say, combine only if there is null kind of a thing. And then once that is there, then you split it back. So this is one way. Another option is, let's see if there is anybody in the chat who can give me a little bit guidance, but no, I think there's more questions coming in. If anyone is familiar with this problem, feel free to put a little bit heads up there. But another way is we could also transpose and then vertically make these as lists. So then we are going to try. Okay. We can just give up at that point. But yeah, you should be able to do it like that, like combine and split. But the nulls are not really helping our cause, because every time there is null, Power BI is adding that extra delimiter. It shouldn't be even doing that, but it is doing. So yeah, but I know what the PDF problem is. Normally, this is what happens. Like when you have that, then because it just blindly follows the instruction that you have told in the transform stage, which is take this and split by the delimiter, it sees those invisible things and acts like a delimiter. So you would want to fix that problem. Yeah, I'm probably going to try this later, and then put a comment down in the video if I can find a more elegant way to solve it. Someone says unpivot the column. So maybe if we select everything and unpivot, what's that going to do? Okay, yeah, that kind of works. So we have got, but the problem is then we have got different column numbers. So we only need 3 columns, whereas it says 5. Maybe after transpose, is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. So then we can group all rows and okay, so we kind of have what we need here. We just need to probably pivot this. Yeah, something like that. You'd need to try. Normally, I would know how to solve this later when I'm doing it at my own leisure, and I can find different ways and then eventually figure out something works. Okay, so we're going to give up at that point. Sorry I couldn't help you, but again, email me if you want a copy of one of those courses.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. All right, we do still have some people in the chat in the Zoom, and I'll need to come here. And man, it's quite stressful having different windows to toggle. Like I feel like I need a someone else to give me a hand from time to time. But Christopher asks a question. I have an Excel Power Query I did for manipulate data. We export data from SAP system. If I want to share this Excel file with other users to use, what do you think is the smartest way to do it? So the easiest would be to just give them the Excel file. But if you're planning to have others also use your query for their own things, then another option is to create create a query that you can share with the team. You can kind of get into different levels with that. So I'll show you two options. One is, and I've kind of faced similar problems, not with SAP, but other systems where I build a Power Query, but then I want my other team members to be able to use that as well. So how I have handled that. So I'll go here and so let's say you built something and you want to share this. The easiest is to email the file, but then you may modify the file and then your colleagues need to come up to speed and whatnot. So another option is you can go to view advanced editor and you'll have the actual M code that is used behind. So you can copy this code and share it in a different way. Like you can email the code to them, you can put it in a text file and keep it shared with them or whatever. So this is another way where you are just sharing the query and then they can build it on. You can tell them how to add this query. So they'll just have to make a new query and then paste this there, and then they'll be able to do what you have done. But this still creates duplication of the original query because now you have multiple copies of your logic floating around. And if you change something, then your colleagues may not even know that. So a better way would be to have like a two-step thing where you would build the data set, but then you are sharing the data set with them so they can use it and they can refresh it. But whenever you need to change the underlying rules or logic or source connections or whatever, you're still be able to doing you would still be able to do it in a more centralized way. For this to happen, again, you can go with two options. Number one is you can create a Power Query connection in an Excel file that loads all the data the way you want. And then, I feel like this will be helpful if I make some sketches here. So I'm going to do this. We use Notepad as a canvas around here. So let's say this is your original Excel file with your Power Query here. So you build the connection, your Power Query does its thing, and then it publishes an Excel table. So we are going to call this as XLT. And then this is my main file. So I'll call this as a database because this is what it is. It contains the data that I want my team to use. Then what you would do is you would put this file in a shared environment such as either SharePoint or network folder or a web page where they can get to. So you'll put this file there. And then what you will tell them is for all of their work, they can, whether it is Excel or Power BI, it doesn't really matter. For all of their work, they should connect to this file from Power Query and use the Excel connection as an option. So within Power Query in their work, so this is you and this is them. What they will do is they'll open Excel, they'll go to Power Query, get data, Excel file, and then they'll point to this file. So they'll get to that file because that file would have an Excel table. They can see the table, they'll grab the data from that. and then they'll use it to do whatever they want. Rest of the steps they can do. And whenever you need to change, you will come here, you will update this file. Presumably, you're updating it on the network drive directly rather than doing it on your computer and re-uploading it or whatever. So you'll update it, you will refresh, and then when they go to Excel again, they just refresh and it kind of works. So it kind of gives you that kind of a pseudo database kind of a thing where the control is broken into two steps. One is you are controlling the master or the main Power Query things that do all your SAP stuff, and your colleagues need not know or need not worry about access and other stuff. They just get the data. While they're in Power Query, they can do something else on top. And I've built this kind of a thing at clients' places so that we don't have to worry about different things. The only downside of this is you need to do the double refresh. That is, you need to refresh this and then they need to refresh theirs. So this is one. An extended version of this is when you are doing this, you can do all of this process inside Power BI. So you'll build Power Query, you'll create a Power BI data set. So instead of Excel template, you'll create a Power BI data set or database, or I think it's called data set. And once this is here, you publish that to platform, Power BI workspace, and then your colleagues can subscribe to this. They can just read it either in Power BI or Excel directly and then start analyzing the data. They can also read it in Power Query and do further transformations if they want. So these are some options. If you're getting even more fancier, with the fabric and all, you could do even more funny things if you want. But yeah, so those are some options. Hopefully that is giving you some idea. Right, we'll take out those. Let's go back to the chat. We'll take a couple of different questions and then I'll go back to the Zoom. So this one is from comma separated. Okay, now I get it. Comma separated. How it feels to be MS MVP. It feels awesome, and I have. I feel fortunate to be part of this group of people that all work with Microsoft technologies and contribute and share what we are learning with the wider world. And it is such a privilege and such an amazing thing. Like it gives me that sort of a community feel. But yeah, I mean, there's no but actually. It's an amazing thing, and I think only few other technology companies actually do this kind of a thing where they celebrate the people that work on the platforms. Obviously, YouTube being one with their partner program, and then all the things that they send when you reach milestones, like you get 100,000 subscribers or other things. So few companies do that, but it is always it feels great to be recognized for what you do, but also just to kind of make it clear that the MVP thing is something that Microsoft gives you for what you did rather than what you're doing. So I don't really uh, personally, for me, I don't look at MVP thing as something uh, that that kind of validates or whatever that I'm doing currently. It is something that I have received as part of what I contributed last year. So for me, the mission or the vision for me is always very clear, which is I want to help people be awesome in their work. So I'll continue to do that irrespective of whether there is something called MVP or not. Again, I don't want to sound like thankless or anything. It's just personally in my mind, I don't view MVP as something that kind of pushes me to do what I'm doing. Instead, I'll do what I'm doing, and MVP is something that I'm getting after a year for what I did all the last year. I don't know if that helps, but yeah. Mm. All right. Let's see what other chat messages are there. Okay, so Alan has asked a couple of questions, and hi Chandu, how to consolidate values in Power Query? For example, name X has two values, 100 and 300. I need the answer to be 400 in with other names ABC. Please help without deleting duplicate names. Okay. I think I got the question, and then you said without deleting duplicate names. What does that mean? Um, do you want to explain why would you say it without deleting duplicate names? Because I think that has a different connotation. But essentially, what you're looking for is called grouping. So there is a group operation in Power BI, Power Query that you can use to group the data. And then when you're grouping, you can say what kind of grouping to use. So you want to say sum these values when you're grouping, and it would group those. But I feel like you may want something else as well. So why would you say without deleting? Okay. Should we go and pick someone else? There is a few people waiting in the Zoom call. So I'm gonna admit somebody. And while we wait for them, when you're joining the call, it'll be helpful if you can mute, mute the YouTube video that you're watching on parallel so that there is no echo. Uh, and yeah, while that is loading, I'm gonna put another message because I think this person has put Suresh. So I'm gonna answer your question, but I also request you to be kind and gentle. You've posted the same message many times already. If I didn't pick something, it's just not that I didn't want to help you. It's just there are so many messages. So if I missed you, that's all right. But you don't have to post it again and again. It's not helping anyone. So why can't we do calculated item after you load data from Power Query? I don't know exactly what this means. You can do calculated item. You can go back to Power Query, add a column there. Likewise, you can also introduce extra calculations through Power Pivot, and all of that. I am not really sure what you mean by why can't we do calculated item after you load data. Like where are you referring to? If it is in Power Query, you can always go back, edit the query, and add the columns. If it is in Excel and you're saying I have got source data, I load it to Power Query, and then I went back to my source data and added a column now, that should be reflected in your output, assuming you've not done anything else funny in Power Query when you refresh the data. Now, the third thing that you could also mean is you load the data into Power Query, do your own thing, load it back as a table, and then on the table that is loaded, you add a calculated column. That will be there even after you refresh. If you refresh, something changes, then the calculated column updates. So in all those cases, it seems to work as per like what is the difficulty that you're facing. Oh, you're saying in pivot table. You can add, but my recommendation is don't use pivot tables. Pivot table calculated field. Use the measure option when you are bringing the data from Power Query, because then you will be able to do so much more. If you're not sure what calculated measures or Power Pivot is, check out my channel. Just search for Power Pivot. There is a new video that I put like a month ago called I Don't Use Pivot Tables Anymore. So watch that. It explains to you how to do this. Okay, we got, I tried to admit somebody, but I think they were not there, so they never joined. But Nathaniel says, so let's say row 1 and row 2 have X with the value 100 and 300 respectively. Then there would be another column with 400 for row and 1. Okay, this is an awesome question. I think we should look at this. It also gives you some chance to get a little bit creative with what you're doing. But we kind of touched upon this earlier in the day. So I'm going to show you. I mean, remember this we did distinct counts, so it's kind of like that, essentially same thing. You can do it two steps, like you can do the merge, the group by, and then do the join back again, which is a lot simpler to understand in your mind. But I'll show you another one which I have used it previously as well. So I'll go close and load, and then I'm gonna make up another data set for this particular example. I feel like we're not going to get to any of these things that I prepared because we have got so many other interesting questions. So what we will do is we are going to take just a few rows of data. I don't want to overwhelm ourselves. So I'll just take a few rows of data, paste it here. I'm going to delete the date column also. So we only have product and amount, and you can see, I'll make this a table, and then so just some products and then their amounts, but there is some duplication, like peanut butter cubes has already repeated 3 times. So then what we want is we want to be able to say right next to the amount here, another column, what was the total amount for that product, and what is this amount, that what is that amount. So the total amount would repeat, like if mint chip choco appeared further down, that amount would be same for that as well. So you get the idea, right? So we are going to go to data from table range and load this into Power BI, Power Query, and go to transform group by, and then what we want is we want to do a grouping on product and then call this as total amount, which would be a sum of the amount column. But we don't want to just do that, so we are going to go from basic to advanced, and then you can add multiple aggregations with advanced grouping. So basic you will only do one, but we want to do advanced, and then all amounts, which is just show the all rows. Okay, so two operations. One is sum operation, and the second one is not an aggregation. It will give you all the rows. And when you click OK, you're going to get total amounts for each product, but then you'll also get a small table next to each. If I pick that table, I can see all the rows in that table. So mint chip choco, there is only one record. I'm going to go with the peanut butter cubes. You can see all the 4 records of peanut butter cube here. Okay. So now that that is there, we just expand this guy out, take that, and then, so now you have got total amount and amount in the same table. So everything is there, and then you just load it back and do your own thing with whatever you want. Ideally, this kind of a thing is a little bit dangerous to do, simply because 2 reasons. One, this kind of a grouping is a costly operation. So if you have got 500,000 rows or 6 million rows loading into your models, you would want to avoid doing group bys like this through Power Query. You're probably better off doing this in SQL or something where the operations are a lot faster and better optimized. And the second problem is, let's say you have got total amount and somebody builds a pivot and then they add total amount there, then it's going to give you wrong numbers, because then it will add these four values and then it will say peanut butter cubes is something like 158,000 or whatever. But that won't be true, because you should be using this column. So it creates an extra column which is essentially containing the data that is already there in the other column. So yeah, but I get why you want it, because sometimes you do need these kind of things. Same way how we did with the distinct count earlier. So hopefully that was fun. You got to see that. There was a very bold blog article. I feel like this is the first time I have used this technique, was many years ago. I was just gonna pull it up here. Yeah, I just can't immediately remember what the article is called, but it was one of those very old articles where I showed this technique. And yeah, I use this from time to time because it's a little fun trick that you can use to kind of get this kind of a specific thing. So hopefully this was the question that the other person had, or maybe it was you again. Yeah, okay. Alan says yes, that was it. Awesome. Sharma says how many conditions we can use under Power Query. There is no limit. You can write any number of conditions and use that. And Monk says, I just wanted to pop in and say I've learned so much from your content and truly appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you. Thank you so much. That is really lovely of you to say that. And yeah, more power to you. All right, let's see one more person. Hopefully, there is still some people waiting in the room. I tried to admit somebody and they were not there. We're gonna try this person. Okay. Hey, you there? Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Okay, this person seems to be away from their computer. We're gonna try one more. Meanwhile, I'll go back to the chat and Nathaniel says, so is grouping always costly, like you said? It is a costly operation because it needs to iterate over all the rows before it can group. And that's going to be a slower operation than doing anything at a row level. You would want to, especially if you've got a million rows, like you're saying, better do it at in a SQL server or whatever source system is that is sending you the data, or change your output view. So you're getting grouped data as a separate table. So once you have two tables, one has all data and one has grouped data, you can then join them to get the combined view a lot faster than grouping them at Power Query level. If you're noticing performance issues, if it's already working fine, then you don't need to do anything. Hey, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi. So what's your question? How can I help you? Hello. Hey, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi. What's your question?
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Jiba. Okay, I think probably you have some issue. I'm gonna remove you. Feel free to join back again, and I'll bring you in if you are able to connect because I can't hear what you're saying. Hello. Okay, next person is connecting, but meanwhile, I'm gonna put this question from Fahad. I want to get your advice from you. My communication skills aren't good, and I don't want to engage much with stakeholders. Can I go with data analyst field? It's up to you. I don't know. I mean, one way to think about this is my communication skills aren't good now. So you're not really saying that as a self fulfilling prophecy. Instead, you're just saying they're not good now, but I can improve them. So you're leaving that door open. But another is I understand that not everyone wants to improve their communication skills or think about that. And, sometimes you have anxieties and whatnot. So if that's you and you don't want to be engaging with people all the time because that kind of puts you in a very nervous situation, you could still do a lot of awesome things. You just have to find the right combination of team, people, and job and situation. It's not like you have to or you don't have to. It's just up to you. Whatever you want, you can do, as long as you're not like that. But about 8 times out of 10, it is just that it's a slope and you're somewhere here, but your communication skills can be improved and you don't have much issue. Like I assume you are talking fine with your family, your friends, and your other people in your circles. Maybe it was just a professional setting that is confusing you. So in that case, it's not bad. Everybody will improve over time. So give it time, keep working, and you can easily improve. And there's nothing like a band-aid where you put that on and magically your skills have improved or whatever. You will need to actively work on it, and over a period of time you would definitely improve. So if that is the case, try it. But on the other hand, you're feeling like, man, this is not for me, then feel free to do something else, and try it out. You can be a data analyst and you don't have to deal with a lot of people, but also from time to time you have to talk to people. Like essentially what is a data analyst doing? They are analyzing the data so someone else can do their job better. And how can you analyze? How can you do anything when you're not talking to the other person who you're helping? Then you're not really doing anything meaningful. You don't know what the others want. You'll have to talk to them, get their requirements correctly, engage with them throughout the process so that the analysis that you're doing is useful. Literally 99 out of 100 jobs in the world are like that, where you are doing something to help someone else. So maybe switching that perspective could also be helpful. I don't know if this is helpful or this is like a pep talk. But yeah, give it a try. Uh, there's nothing like good or bad. It's all just one continuous thing. Nathaniel has some additional commenters, and I feel like either my Zoom is acting up or something funny is going on, because KDL is saying it is connecting to audio. So we're having some issues. I'm just gonna quickly admit one at a time for the remaining people and then see if we can get lucky with any of them. Otherwise, hey, can you hear me, Akshay?
Yep, I can hear you, Chandu. Thank you so
Awesome.
much for taking me.
Finally, somebody.
I just have a I just have a quick question here. So I have two different data sets.
Mm-hmm.
So the data sets which I'm like I'm creating a relationship between them.
Mm-hmm.
So consider I have employee names in both the sheets.
Okay.
Like those are my unique identifiers,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have duplicates in it.
Mm.
So both the date like in both the sheets I have data which is like repetitive.
Mm.
So I don't have a unique identifier, nor I have like something to create a relationship between both the sheets. So how can I do it? Like I want to create a relationship and do my things there. So how do I do it?
So did you say employee name is the identifier in both the things?
Yeah, both the things. And in both the sheets, the data is duplicative. Like I
Okay.
have, for example, if it's Akshay, I have Akshay like 10 times in both the sheets. Like it can be, it
Mm.
can vary in both the sheets, but it's actually duplicative.
Okay. What are you trying to do achieve by combining that data? Like what is your objective here?
So my objective is I have like, for example, in sheet one, I have like 10 rows, which gives me a data of sales for this location for Akshay.
Mm-hmm.
And in the other sheet, I have the personal information of Akshay, like his email address and
Mm.
everything.
So why would
So
that
I wanted
information
to,
be duplicated?
yeah.
No, I mean, why would the personal information be duplicated?
No, I
Mm.
mean that's the personal information is not duplicative,
Okay.
but the names, like the unique identifiers, are duplicative. So I wanted
Okay,
to
so same
merge them.
person
And
name might be there for different people. Is that what you're saying?
yes, exactly.
Okay. Um, then how would we know which Akshay's email address to use? What is the governing principle here?
So So the only unique identifier is their name. So if I have Akshay, I
Mm.
have the same name in the other sheet, I have the same name in this sheet. So
Okay.
that's the only unique identifier.
But then there could be two Akshays. So then
Yeah,
we don't know
two
who.
Akshay's.
Mm.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So it looks like a data quality problem to me. How are you getting this data? Which system is giving you this data?
So I have different. So this is basically internal data and the client related data.
Mm.
So can I like reiterate what I said? So can I consider my employee email address as the unique identifier, which is only there in one sheet, but it's not there in another sheet?
Yeah. Okay, you can, but then because the whole idea of a unique identifier is to be able to uniquely identify a data across the spectrum of all the tables. Otherwise, there is no value to that. Like your ID doesn't
Right.
exist in
Okay.
other
Right.
places, so you can't map it out correctly.
Yep.
You
So,
can kind of use some other proxies. For example, uh, you know, like if you have got again, this is very naive. Ideally, you would want something very solid and unique, like an employee ID number, which will not be
mm-hmm,
duplicated across the tables. And I'm pretty
mm-hmm,
sure if you are getting this data from somewhere, that ID column would be there. It's just not exposed to you, or you are not getting that through your SQL or views or export or whatever you're using. So, best thing
okay.
is go back to the source, because
Mm-hmm,
almost 9.9 times out of 10, the identifier will be there in the source systems. Without that, it will just be chaos. Like, you can't imagine any real world systems maintaining data like this. Like, you take your bank,
mm-hmm,
for example, they wouldn't really have an account with Akshay as the name. They'll have an account number and a user number and
yeah.
all of that, because otherwise they will not know which Akshay to give the money to. So it will be
Mm-hmm,
there.
okay.
You're just not getting it. So you may want to go back and talk to the people who are providing the data and ask them for this. But
Mm-hmm,
if you can't, whatever reason, then you'll need to
uh-huh,
think what could be a proxy. This will create many other problems in the data quality, and there will not be a very clean way for you to validate or test or audit the numbers that you're producing. So it's a slippery slope, and my suggestion is don't get on
mm-hmm,
it. But if you have to, then you may want to use something that in combination with the name will make it unique. Like for example, at a client site, I used employee name
mm-hmm,
and date of birth as a unique identifier, because sometimes what happens
uh,
is an employee joining the organization would have an employee ID, but many times we onboard the employees and it takes 1 week for the payroll system to generate their IDs and everything. So
yep.
within that 1 week, they are in this limbo state where they don't have an ID number, but we still need to be able to identify them. Like, who is this John Adams that we are talking about?
Mm-hmm,
So,
okay.
because that window is so small, the possibility of another John Adams being there is low. But even if they are there, both of them sharing the same date of birth is also low. So we use
Very
that
likely, yeah.
to kind of narrow down. Even then, we would hit some false positives from time to time, and then we would have to go back to the employee files to know which John Adams this is. So it's manual work at that point. But we are talking about volumes of 2 people per week here. So it's handleable like
Mm-hmm,
that. But if you're having data where you have got thousands of rows and a lot more, best thing to do is go back to the source, get the correct identifiers before you make progress. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that's my
Okay.
suggestion.
That helps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And another thing that I had was if we have like, can we create a relationship between two Excels even if they have duplicates?
Mm. Sorry, what was that?
Can we like create a relationship between two Excel sheets even if they have duplicates in it?
You can. So there is no limit like that. Let me just show you here.
Yeah.
Um, this kind of creates some very weird things. But let's say you have this table. You can see
Mm-hmm.
the product names are duplicated here, and my main data here, the names are not duplicated. But if I go here, I can see these names are duplicated. Technically, we can join these. It will create some very weird and complicated and confusing things, but and sometimes even meaningless. So, but if you go to merge queries, you can select this and you can pick another table, and select
Mm-hmm.
that. It's gonna find matches, and it's gonna do that thing. It won't really do it. You can even use fuzzy matching and whatnot, and you can specify what
Okay.
kind of a join you're doing. Another thing, this is something that probably not many would know, is you can select 2 columns and map as well. So you're creating a composite key where you're saying make a combination of mint chip choco 5320 with mint chip choco 5320. So that's going to map that record, that combination only. If there is another mint chip choco but not 5320. It's not going to map out to this row. It's going to map out to that other row.
Okay.
So if you have got employee name and their department, for example, then the chances of two employees with the same name in the same department might be a lot lower. So you could use both of them to make a unique key. But yeah, best thing is to get your
Yep.
ID.
Yep, I get it. Thank you so much, Chandu.
Okay,
This
you're
is really
welcome.
helpful.
Bye. All right. I think I feel like somebody just tried to come in and so someone says my voice is not clear. And of course, we have got a spammer who has put a few messages. I blocked them, but I'm gonna. Intan says, "Hi Chanda, I worked in logistics for over 20 years. What kind of advice can you give me to start becoming a quality data analyst?" Okay, now we're getting into questions that are a little bit more outside the purview of Power Query. I'll take up this and then I think that might be the last one that we do. Mm. So, the, if you have got a good solid experience in any industry, whether it's logistics or manufacturing or accounting or banking, whatever it is, then a quick and a more effective way to break into another industry like data analytics is to lean into your strengths. So for example, you worked in logistics industry, so you would have, especially 20 years, you would have built a wealth of knowledge, a variety of connections, and a lot of skills, both people, interpersonal and business and domain skills in the space of logistics. You may not know much about data, but you already know so much more than any data analyst would know in the logistics space because you've been working in that. So lean into that and go for a data role in your industry first. Even if you don't particularly enjoy working in the logistics space anymore, you will be able to get your initial break simply because you will appeal a lot better than a fresh data analyst applying into that company. So yeah, lean into that, get into a data position like that. It might not be senior level position or whatever given your experience, but you will be able to convince your interviewers a lot faster by saying that you want to diversify and learn data skills. After 1 or 2 years, then you would have data skills added to your resume and you'll know a little bit more about the industry, and at that point you can get out and move into a different industry altogether unrelated to logistics if you want, and still be a successful data analyst. So that is my number one suggestion. I'm not saying this simply because that's the right thing to say or anything. I have personally used this in my life. So right now I'm working at a data senior data various data positions uh, here. But before 7 8 years ago, I never worked as a data analyst. I did a lot of data work, but primarily in a different industry. But I was able to get into another industry by initially leaning on to what my strengths are. So my strengths were in technology space. So I told initial interviewers that that's what I could do, and got in because I leaned onto my strength. So don't altogether think like, I need to abandon this and go somewhere. uh, it seems like an obvious thing, but many people seem to be thinking, if I have to go into data or if I go into technology, then I need to let go of this. No, you don't have to. um, Most of what data people, technology people will do really helps the business people. So if you are bringing in that perspective, that is so much more valuable than your knowledge of Power BI, Power Query, or Excel, because those things you can learn a lot faster. But learning about an industry does take sweet little time. And even when you know that, you know how people work and what works in a specific situation is something that will take many years to develop. So that's why I suggest you to rely more on what you have already achieved. Okay, so that is that. I think Lazy Monk says they have audio issues, but probably it's just you because others can hear properly, and I can see here the audio does come out all right. We have got one more from here from Chandramohan Singh. I got daily dumps, which I save all of them in a folder having year, month, date format. I want my query to select data source from today dated folder always. Please suggest the solution. This is a good question, but I'm gonna give you pointers rather than show you the thing. You can use within Power Query datetime.now or similar functions to get the current time and current date into your query. So once you do some operations on that, you will know what the date is in your year, month, day format, and then you just apply a filter condition for that. So you filter that out. But you may want to build some extra clauses in there, especially if you're not going to have a folder in the weekends or holidays or whatnot, and you would want that to work even when refreshing. So you may want to add some extra clauses there so that it picks the next day if it doesn't find today's date or whatever. So yeah, try that. He also says, need to mention that I'm following you from 2014 and learned so many excellent Power Query ideas. Thanks for all these free tips. You're welcome, my friend. Akshay says, how do I contact you for the courses? You have my email address. Just email me, say that, we connected on the stream, and then I'll help you out. Mark says, can you explain how to properly use the list function? I don't get the use of it. Wanted to add a question in front of, can you explain? Okay, yeah. I want to, but I'm mindful that we have been talking for about 2 hours, 15 minutes now. So I'll take I'll only point the things. What list function does in Power Query is it will generate a list. So if you have got list.dates, it will generate dates in a list of values. One way to think about list is if you have got a table. So I'm going to go here. If you have got a table, each column is a list. So all of these are like 3 lists. They're all smushed together to create a table. So that's what a list is. A list is a collection of values, usually of the same data type, but Power Query is a little bit more flexible. If you don't have same data type, it's going to make it variable and work with it. So if you're not understanding why a list is needed or when you would use it, chances are probably you haven't come across a situation where you need them. So you don't need to worry too much. You don't need to think like, do I need to know this? Because most of the things, especially within technologies like Power Query or Power Pivot or Excel or Power BI is, while they're a lot fancier to learn, or you might see a lot of tweets or YouTube videos or social media or marketing hype around them. If you're not planning to immediately use them, then you will not benefit from it just by learning. So, I mean, I am a teacher, so I need to learn because I talk about these things, but that's not the case for everybody. So, if you are in a position where you don't have a use for list right now, I suggest not bothering learning that, because even if you learn now, by the time you use it in 6 months down the line, you would probably have forgotten how to use it, just as I do all the time. Like somebody asked me, how do I take that extra column out in the front? And we struggled for a bit. I couldn't get the answer, so we moved on. So chances are same thing is true for you. yeah, if you're not getting it, don't bother. You can always learn it later when you have that need. A simple use case is calendar tables. I did a video on that this week on the channel, so check it out. It's called How I Generate Calendar Tables Using Power BI, and it shows you a good use case of list. Hopefully it will give you some ideas. All right. The, there are still 4 people waiting in the participant room. I feel like I'm gonna admit one of them and then test our luck. But if that doesn't work or there's some issues, then I think that's a good place to stop. May even. Hello. Hey. You hear me all right? Hello. I can see you, but
Hello?
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. How can I help you?
Good morning and thanks for your videos and tips. Very helpful.
You're welcome.
Really, I am very new to Power Query. So maybe I won't know the technical words. Excuse me in advance. Actually, when I use Power Query, I have a lot of steps. But at some point, I use a result for one particular result. I need 3 different queries. For example, I will sort one for unknown, one for I don't know X result, and one for Y result. But if I do a copy of that query, when I run it, it take lots of time because it have to run all the process.
Yeah.
How can how can I do it
Okay, I get the question,
without
yeah.
copying without copying the whole process?
Okay. I'll show you quickly. So I'm going to go here. So normally what you're doing is this is your query, let's say, and you are copying or you're duplicating basically. Copy paste is duplicate. And then you're
Exactly.
doing your own thing on the top. But there is another option called reference. So I'll show you what happens if we duplicate. Okay, pay close attention to the steps area here, 3 steps. So when I duplicate, I'll have a second query, but all the 3 steps are done again from scratch. Okay, we are going to delete this. And then this time we are going to create a reference. So first query has 3 steps, but second query only has 1 step. What the reference would do is it will create. So we'll imagine this is your first query. We'll call this as Q1. A duplicate would be just exactly copy pasted whole thing, whereas a reference would be Q2 basically links this and that in such a way that Q2 is the last step of Q1. So whatever Q1 has done, all of it is finished, and then a copy of the result is loaded to Q2. So this way, the steps are only done once. All the 3 steps execute here, the result comes, and then it gets duplicated, copied over here as well as Q2. In the Q2, you can do something else. Like for example, you can say, for this, I don't need this column. And then for this, I don't need these products. So you can kind of add an extra condition. So now you have added some extra steps on Q2. But these steps will not run until Q1 finishes its job. So it does its thing, and then this guy picks up where that ends. And then you now have 2 outputs. But this would be a lot faster because you're referencing. But reference also means there is a dependency created. Until Q1 has finished loading, Q2 cannot run. But because it doesn't duplicate the steps, this will be a lot faster, especially if you're doing it on a large data set with 20 different steps. Then all your 20 steps will only run once, and then your reference queries will just execute very quickly. So you want to try that. Hopefully that will give you the outcome that you're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you very much.
All right, there is only one person in the waiting room, so we're going to let them in and then see if they have anything or they are just forgot to turn it off. Nope. Was it? I think. Oh yeah, they joined. Hey Willie, can you hear me? Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi. How can I help you?
Let me just get my video up.
Okay.
Hello, Shandu.
Hi, Billy.
Let me get back to my mute your. I just wanted to mute your YouTube
yeah.
video so it
Okay,
didn't
cool.
go back and forth. Anyway, I had a question about PDFs and uploading. Down. I should say transforming PDF files. Okay, I have PDF files that have. In general, they're bank statements, and they have generally 5 tables that are involved with it. So when you choose tables to download, I can do each 5 tables independently, but then I also have 10 different statement files. So I'm kind of trying to figure out a way of making that simple that I can combine, I guess, append the 5 tables together to make one table with just all the statement data on it. Do that for 10 different files in a folder. They all have the same structure, but I'm lost with the custom functions and that.
Okay. So I am familiar with this problem. When you go to a PDF, I'll show you quickly here, but you may want to do a little bit more research later on, just so that you get all the specifics. So let me just locate. Okay, so this is that. So we're going to say a new query from a PDF for now. So I got some statements here. These are like credit card statements, like made up statements, but exactly what you're referring to. I'll show you with one, but the idea is similar whether you do 1 or 5. So you have got multiple tables. But what I noticed is if your statements are reasonably well formatted, which would be the case for most bank PDF statements, Power Query should identify a composite table. So this table doesn't exist in my data. It's actually made by Power Query, which spans all the pages. So pages 1 to 3, everything is having similar structure. So it was able to create this kind of a composite table. So do you see this kind of a thing when you when you try to load your PDFs, because sometimes it might be further down and you may miss it, but do you notice?
No, I get the yeah, I get the multiple tables and there's just 2 pages. So it's very similar to that. The problem I'm encountering is I can't figure out how to do this for multiple PDF files.
Yeah. So then what you're looking for is, rather than a single PDF query, you can just go to new query, file, folder, and point to the folder where all your PDFs are. So here are my 3 PDFs, and you want to say combine and transform data. Again, I'll show you very, very quickly, but this is a little bit more detailed process than what I'm showing. I have got a video as well. I'll put that in the
on your YouTube channel.
on my channel. So
okay, because what I'm looking at on the YouTube is lagged by probably 30 seconds, so I can't see what you're saying.
Yeah. So here it's called convert PDF to Excel effortlessly, one file or combine many. So you may want to check this out. It's exactly the problem that you have explained, and it will kind of explain to you what the process is. But yeah, essentially you then specify how to transform each file, and then it will apply. So we want that for all the files. So when I click OK, I'll get like a composite table that does for
the problem like that screen that you're showing there, it doesn't allow you to choose
multiple
different tables from
so you will need to
multiple tables.
Once this is done, you can customize the transform sample and do your own things there. So if you go to transform sample, this is one file. So here you will want to delete the navigation, go back to the source, and filter to all the pages that you want, for example, like that, and then expand this out. So now I'm getting all the data from all the pages, something like that. But I feel like you already have most pieces of the puzzle, so you might be able to figure it out with a little bit of that video. In that video, I talk about what happens in the transform sample, and then rest is, it's quite easy to figure out once you have gone that far. Okay, I hope that was helpful. It's good seeing you, and
yeah, thanks for taking me.
Yeah, thanks. Bye. All right, I feel like time has just flown by because, wow, 2 hours 28 minutes now. Okay. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching and having fun. I had fun. It's a very different format, but I had a little bit of fun with this, taking questions in live and hopefully helping you with some of the Power Query questions that you have. And I hope you got to learn something as well, even if you didn't have a question to learn. So thanks for joining. And Muhammad says, hi, I'm from KSA and want to appreciate my favorite mentor. Thank you so much, Muhammad, for that lovely gesture. And I wish you all a pleasant and fun weekend. I'm going to go probably chill for a bit. And then once the family wakes up, we'll have breakfast and enjoy. Looks like a beautiful day. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Karma Separated says, have a nice weekend. Yeah, you have a nice weekend too. And Ravi says, thank you. Great session. You're welcome, Ravi. All right. Whoever is there, go and have fun. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch again some other time. I'll do a live stream session every end of the month. So feel free to come in next month. Next month, we are going to do more of a presentation style rather than a Q&A one. But it was always fun to have that. Thank you. The chat messages are still coming, but I'm gonna kind of end the stream